When you stop pleasing everyone, you lose noise and gain direction. If you've ever felt exhausted from constantly saying yes to everyone while your own dreams collect dust, this video will change how you see yourself and your relationships forever. Today, we're diving deep into what happens when empaths finally stop people-pleasing and start seeing the truth about their lives and the people around them. I'm talking about that moment when you realize that being kind doesn't mean being available to everyone at all times. When you understand that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. And when you finally see that some relationships were built on your willingness to sacrifice your own needs, not on genuine mutual respect. This journey starts with understanding something Dale Carnegie touched on decades ago. Though most people misinterpret his message completely, Carnegie emphasized the importance of listening to others and showing genuine interest in their lives. But here's what gets lost in translation. Listening doesn't mean obeying. Showing interest doesn't mean sacrificing your own priorities. Mutual respect means both people's needs matter, not just theirs. The problem with many empaths is they take Carnegie's wisdom about human connection and twist it into a blueprint for self-destruction. They listen so intently to others that they stop hearing their own inner voice. They show such genuine interest in other people's problems that they neglect their own life completely. They seek to understand everyone so deeply that they forget they deserve understanding too. Real empathy isn't about absorbing everyone else's emotions and problems like a sponge. It's about understanding others while maintaining your own emotional center. It's about caring without carrying. It's about helping without losing yourself in the process. When Carnegie talked about winning friends and influencing people, he wasn't advocating for becoming a doormat. He was teaching people how to build genuine connections based on mutual respect and understanding. But somewhere along the way, sensitive souls started interpreting this as a mandate to please everyone at their own expense. The cost of constant people-pleasing runs deeper than most empaths realize. On the surface, it looks like kindness and generosity. Underneath, it's slowly eroding your sense of self, your energy, and your ability to make decisions that actually serve your life. First, there's the physical and emotional fatigue. When you're constantly tuned in to everyone else's needs, emotions, and problems, your nervous system never gets a break. You're perpetually in a state of hypervigilance, scanning for ways to help, to fix, to please. This chronic state of alertness depletes your energy reserves faster than you can replenish them. You wake up tired because even your sleep is interrupted by worry about how to solve other people's problems. You feel drained after social interactions because you've been managing not just your own emotions, but absorbing and processing everyone else's too. You find yourself agreeing to commitments when you're already overwhelmed because saying no feels impossible. Then there's the insidious way other people's agendas start driving your life. When you always say yes, people naturally start coming to you with their needs first. Your calendar fills up with other people's priorities, while your own dreams and goals get pushed to someday. You become so good at solving everyone else's problems that you forget what your own problems even are. Your decisions become purely reactive instead of proactive. Instead of asking what you want to create in your life, you're constantly responding to what others need from you. Instead of building toward your own vision, you're helping everyone else build theirs. You lose touch with your own desires, your own dreams, your own sense of direction. The most devastating cost is how this pattern affects your relationships. When you're always the giver, always the helper, always the one who accommodates, you attract people who are comfortable taking without reciprocating. You end up surrounded by takers who see your kindness as an unlimited resource they can tap into whenever they need something. These relationships feel unbalanced because they are unbalanced. But because you've trained yourself to find your worth in how much you can give, you mistake this imbalance for love or friendship. You tell yourself that this is just how relationships work, that caring means sacrificing, that love means putting everyone else first. But here's what starts to happen when you begin saying no without guilt. At first, it feels terrifying. That first no might be something small, like declining to take on an extra project when you're already swamped, or not immediately responding to a text that demands instant attention. Your people-pleasing conditioning will scream that you're being selfish, that you're letting people down, that you'll be rejected if you don't comply. The key is starting with small, strategic denials that feel manageable but create important precedents. Maybe you don't answer your phone during your designated personal time. Maybe you say you need to think about a request instead of automatically agreeing. Maybe you redirect a conversation that's becoming an emotional dumping session. Each small no teaches you something crucial. The world doesn't end when you prioritize your own needs. Most people respect boundaries when they're communicated clearly and kindly. The ones who don't respect your boundaries are revealing important information about their character and their intentions in your relationship. As you practice these boundary-setting muscles, something remarkable happens. You start to see your life more clearly. You realize how much mental and emotional space was being occupied by other people's dramas and demands. You begin to reconnect with your own thoughts, feelings, and desires that were buried under layers of people-pleasing. This is where the 3-2-1 framework becomes essential for maintaining your progress and building a life that actually reflects your values and goals. The 3 represents your 3 core priorities at any given time, not 30 priorities, not even 10. 3. These are the most important areas where you want to invest your time, energy, and attention. They might be personal goals like improving your health or developing a skill. They might be relationship goals, like deepening your connection with your family or finding a romantic partner who values mutual respect. They might be professional goals, like advancing your career or starting a business. The key is getting crystal clear about what these 3 priorities are and using them as a filter for every request that comes your way. When someone asks you to take on a new commitment, you ask yourself, does this support one of my 3 core priorities? If the answer is no, then your answer is no, regardless of how the request is packaged or how guilty you might feel about declining. The 2 represents your 2 non-negotiable boundaries. These are the limits you absolutely will not cross, no matter how much pressure you face or how much someone tries to guilt you. Maybe one boundary is that you don't discuss work during your personal time. Maybe another is that you don't lend money to people who haven't paid back previous loans. These boundaries protect your most essential needs and values. The important thing about these boundaries is that you communicate them clearly before you're in a situation where they're being tested. You don't wait until someone is pressuring you to work overtime to mention that you don't check emails after 6 p.m. You establish these boundaries when you're calm and clear-headed, and you stick to them consistently. The 1 represents one non-negotiable daily action that moves you toward your authentic life. This might be 30 minutes of creative work on a project that excites you. It might be a walk in nature where you reconnect with yourself. It might be journaling to process your thoughts and feelings without immediately turning them into action items for helping others. This daily action is your anchor. No matter how chaotic life gets, no matter how many requests come your way, you protect this one thing that's purely for you and your growth. It's a daily reminder that your life belongs to you, that your dreams matter, that you're worth investing in. As you implement this framework, you'll notice some predictable reactions from the people in your circle. Understanding these reactions ahead of time helps you navigate them without losing your resolve. Initially, there's resistance. People who are accustomed to unlimited access to your time and energy will push back when you start setting boundaries. They might accuse you of being selfish or different or difficult. They might increase their demands to test whether your boundaries are real or just temporary. This resistance isn't necessarily malicious. Some people genuinely don't understand that relationships can function with mutual boundaries because they've never experienced that kind of dynamic. Others have become so dependent on your willingness to overgive that they panic at the thought of having to become more self-reliant. The key during this phase is to stay consistent with your boundaries while remaining kind in your communication. You don't need to justify or explain your boundaries extensively. A simple, "I'm not available for that," or "that doesn't work for me," is sufficient. The more you explain, the more you invite negotiation and pushback. After the initial resistance comes a period of stabilization. People start to understand that your boundaries are real and consistent. Some adjust their expectations and learn to respect your limits. Others drift away because the relationship was primarily based on what you could provide rather than genuine mutual connection. This can feel sad, but it's also incredibly clarifying. You start to see which relationships were built on authentic care and which were built on convenience or exploitation. The people who stay and learn to respect your boundaries are the ones worth investing in moving forward. Eventually, new agreements emerge. The people who remain in your life learn to interact with you differently. They stop assuming you'll automatically say yes to every request. They start reciprocating more in the relationship. They begin to see you as a whole person with your own needs and desires, not just as a resource for meeting their needs. These new dynamics feel strange at first if you're used to being the eternal giver. You might feel guilty when someone offers to help you or when you receive without immediately giving something back. But learning to receive gracefully is just as important as learning to set boundaries. Throughout this process, you need a reliable way to distinguish between your people-pleasing conditioning and reality. Your conditioning will try to convince you that you're being terrible, that people hate you, that you're destroying relationships by having basic boundaries. Here's a reality checklist to ground yourself in truth rather than fear. Look for repeated evidence over time, not isolated incidents. If someone consistently respects your boundaries after an initial adjustment period, that's evidence of a healthy relationship. If someone continues to pressure you, manipulate you, or ignore your stated limits after you've been clear about them, that's evidence of a problematic dynamic. Consider context when evaluating people's reactions. Someone having a bad day and being a bit pushy is different from someone who systematically disregards your boundaries. Someone expressing disappointment that you can't help with something is different from someone attacking your character because you said no. Seek explicit confirmation when you're unsure about someone's intentions or feelings. Instead of mind-reading or assuming, ask directly. I noticed you seemed upset when I said I couldn't help with that project. Can you tell me what you're thinking? Often, you'll discover that your people-pleasing anxiety was creating stories that weren't based in reality. The most important reality check is tracking your own well-being over time. As you maintain consistent boundaries and prioritize your own needs alongside others, you should feel more energetic, more centered, more connected to your own goals and desires. If you're consistently setting boundaries but feeling worse instead of better, you might need to adjust your approach or seek support from a therapist who understands boundary-setting challenges. Remember, the goal isn't to become selfish or uncaring. The goal is to become genuinely caring in a sustainable way. When you take care of your own needs, you have more genuine energy and attention to offer others. When you set clear boundaries, people know where they stand with you instead of having to guess. When you stop people-pleasing, you can offer authentic help and support rather than resentful compliance. People often fear that setting boundaries will make them lonely or unliked. In reality, boundaries tend to improve relationships by making them more honest and balanced. The people who truly care about you want you to take care of yourself. They want you to have your own life, your own goals, your own sense of direction. When you stop pleasing everyone, you do lose some things. You lose the illusion that you can control other people's emotions by managing your behavior perfectly. You lose relationships that were based on what you could provide rather than who you are. You lose the temporary high that comes from being needed and appreciated for your sacrifices. But what you gain is infinitely more valuable. You gain authentic relationships based on mutual respect. You gain energy to invest in your own growth and dreams. You gain the ability to help others from a place of choice rather than compulsion. You gain a life that actually reflects your values and priorities instead of everyone else's demands. Most importantly, you gain yourself back. That person you were before you learned that love meant sacrificing everything for others. That person who had dreams and boundaries and a sense of their own worth. That person is still there underneath all the people-pleasing conditioning, waiting for you to create space for them to emerge again. When you stop pleasing everyone, you lose noise and gain direction. You lose chaos and gain clarity. You lose exhaustion and gain sustainable energy for the things and people that truly matter to you. The journey from people-pleasing to authentic boundaries isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Every no you practice makes the next one easier. Every boundary you maintain teaches people how to treat you better. Every priority you honor moves you closer to a life that actually belongs to you. Write below what you thought of this video, what no you will practice this week, and what topic you want me to cover next. If this was helpful, share it with someone who might need to hear that their needs matter too.